Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Station 07.1 Podfix. I am your host, Rin, and this is the continuation of You're on Your Own, Kid by CastleintheAir1989. This is Chapter 10. I waited ages to see you there. And there are no warnings for this chapter. Inko's heart thundered in her chest at Nezu's words. I think we should have a talk about Eldora Middle School. I don't think that's such a good idea. You and I both know this is about your son, Nezu pressed. I'm not sure we should be talking about this. An icy thread of fear caught her by the throat. She'd spent so much time just trying to get people to listen to her, but now that someone finally was, could she actually trust him with the safety of her son? Nonsense! He insisted, a cheery lit to his voice. We both know you've been trying to report them for mistreatment for the past few years now. Until he was interrupted by the sound of shuffling papers on his end. You stopped around 6 months ago. Why was that? It only made things worse. She pressed the phone closer to her ear and wrapped her other arm around herself. She should really be heading home to Izuku soon, but she didn't want to have this conversation around him, didn't want to get his hopes up if Nezu wouldn't be able, or even worse, wasn't willing to do anything. Izuku kept coming home with more bruises, and he stopped telling me things. I couldn't keep putting him through that, knowing I was the one who was drawing even more attention to him. She felt tears fill her eyes and spill down her cheeks. I knew he was lying about what happened at school, but I didn't know what to do. Everything I tried made it worse, and he was the one trying to make me feel better. She covered her mouth, a single sob escaping her throat. I'm sorry, Nezu said, genuine regret evident in his voice. You truly were in an impossible situation. I promise I'll be doing everything in my power to rectify it. Thank you, she breathed, the words washing over her like a balm to her heart. What do you need from me? It would be helpful if you could tell me everything you and your son have personally experienced at Eldora, and, if you were willing, testifying against the people who have wronged you and your son. Inko froze. Do you know why no one has ever taken my accusations seriously? It's because Izuku's quirkless. As if that should make any difference in how he's treated. I would do anything for my son, but no one's ever listened to my concerns before. Why should this time be any different? Midoriya-san, this time, you won't be fighting alone. I take a particular dislike to those who are cruel to others, simply because they are different. Nezu's words carried a bite to them that was at the same time intimidating and reassuring. Thank you, she breathed. Thank you so much. There is no need to thank me, Midoriya-san, he assured her. I'm just doing what any other decent hero would do. She shook her head. I've spoken to heroes and police alike, and not one of them has done a thing, so I think you're doing far more than any of them. I'm ever so grateful. She paused, not sure she should tell him what was next on her mind. Do you know why I brought this to you as a last resort, and not some other hero? Enlighten me. My son, he's always loved heroes. He wanted to be one for as long as I can remember. When his quirk didn't come in, everyone told him that was impossible, but that didn't stop him. He learned everything about quirks and heroes possible, determined to let nothing stop him. She let out a shaky laugh. I promise this has a point. Go on, he encouraged her. I must admit I'm intrigued. Anyways, that's how I found out about you. It seemed like such a long shot that you would actually do anything, but he talked about you to me before. He admires you. From what Izuku's told me, I knew that if I were to risk going to someone one more time, I wanted it to be someone through and fair, and who wouldn't stop until they turned over every stone, and who has the resources to unearth every skeleton from that horrid school. I wanted someone willing to be ruthless, someone who would fight for him to the end, like I couldn't. That's what Izuku deserves. She felt the anger building in her veins, and as much as it shamed her to admit it, while most of her was concerned with protecting Izuku, a part of her wanted to make Eldora pay for what they did. Midoriya-san, I promise you, this is not a fight I'll walk away from. You will have your retribution. I'll call you again in the morning to get more information about Eldora, but it's late, Nezu said. Of course, she agreed. Thank you. After Nezu hung up, Inko clutched the phone to her chest, her heart racing. The events of the last hour felt nearly too surreal to believe. Walking into his apartment, Ch10 quietly pulled the door shut behind him. He breathed a sigh of relief when he spied Midoriya fast asleep on the couch, Soap curled beside him. When Hisashi had texted to say that Midoriya had shown up on their doorstep, he had been anxious to finish his patrol and get home to check on him. Exhaustion sunk deep into his bones, and he groaned as he leaned against the door. Balancing undercover work in his regular patrols was not an easy task. Hisashi greeted him quietly as he kicked off his boots. "How is he?" Ch10 asked, glancing over at where the boy sat slumped over, his chest gently rising and falling as he dozed. "Pretty tired. The little listener seemed fairly wary at first, but I think he's doing better now." Hisashi frowned in Midoriya's direction. It looked like he'd been injured. He seemed to be having trouble moving and favoring his left side around his ribs and abdomen. Ch10 gave a low hum in response. "How badly is he hurt?" "I'm not sure. I didn't want to make him nervous by pressing him. He acted skittish around me, flinching away when I got too close, so I thought it'd be best to wait till you got back." His mouth dipped into a smile. "He's got a real soft spot for you." Ch10 merely raised his eyebrow. "Oh, come on, he adores you." He playfully shoved his shoulder. "He clearly trusts you enough to come to you when he's in trouble. He's just a kid, and he's already a target for everyone around him. It shouldn't be like that. He should be able to trust more people in his life than me." He ran a hand through his hair. "It's good that he at least has you," he reminded him. "He's got someone he can count on. I don't blame him for being so nervous at first. It took him forever to stop looking like he was going to bolt out of here when he first showed up at our apartment. He warmed up more once I asked him about heroes. He sure does get excited about them. And do you know who his favorite hero is?" "It's All Might." Ch10 rolled his eyes at this. He could understand why Midoriya would be a fan of the #1 hero, and he certainly could have chosen someone worse to admire, but in general, Ch10 wasn't a fan of the flashier limelight heroes. Hisashi was the one exception to that rule. The kid talks about him all the time. I'm pretty sure anyone who listened to Midoriya for more than 5 minutes knows that. Yeah, well, aside from that, he was practically bouncing up and down, waiting for Ch10 to guess. He unwound his capture scarf from around his neck. "Do you have a point to this, or should I go and get changed?" he asked, raising one eyebrow. He walked past his husband, toward their room, ready to get out of his uniform. "It's you, Ch10. Eraserhead is one of his favorites." Hisashi's eyes danced with excitement. "What?" He stopped and turned to face Hisashi. "How has he even heard of me?" "I'm not sure. You should have been there. The way he lit up when talking about how you inspired him and made him believe he could be a hero. It was adorable." Oh. That had not been what he had been expecting. Most people were usually drawn to the limelight heroes. He'd assumed Midoriya would be the same. He felt oddly touched by the admiration. He knew that as an underground hero, he would never have the fame or fans that someone like All Might accumulated. The anonymity that came with his job never bothered him, but still, the knowledge that Midoriya admired him made a warm feeling spread through his chest. Walking into the bedroom, he shut the door. Quickly changing out of his hero uniform, he threw on some sweats. Hisashi met him as he emerged from the bedroom. "I'm assuming you'll want to talk to him?" When Ch10 nodded, he continued, "I'll leave you two to it then. I think the little listener will be more comfortable if it's only you in the room." "I'm sure you're right," he agreed as Hisashi walked into their room and shut the door. Moving to the couch where Midoriya lay, Soap curled up beside him, he took a seat beside him, careful not to disturb him. It seemed a shame to wake him, with how peaceful he looked here, but tomorrow was a school day, and his mother would doubtless be wondering where he went. Resting a hand on Midoriya's head, he gently ruffled his hair. "Hey kid, how are you doing?" Midoriya sleepily blinked his eyes open. "Zawa-sensei?" He sat up, grimacing a little as he sat up. Soap made an indignant sound at being disturbed, but settled back down next to him. "What time is it?" "It's after midnight. What happened? Is everything okay?" Ch10 looked him over. He spotted no visible injuries, but the way Midoriya winced as he moved was telling. Midoriya bit his lip. "I lost my apartment key and Mom's at work. My phone wouldn't work, so I couldn't even let her know what was going on. I didn't know where else to go." He knitted his hands together in his lap. "It's okay. I'm glad you came to me," he assured him. "I'm glad you're here," Midoriya said, relief filtering into his voice. He ran a hand through Soap's fur, and she let out a soft rumbling sound. "Me too, kid. How'd you get those injuries?" Ch10 asked. "It was the same people you stopped from chasing me the other day," he admitted. "They're still going after you?" he barked, regretting the harshness of his tone when Midoriya startled, snapping his head up. "Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. You know I'm not mad at you, right, kid?" "Yeah, I know that, Sensei." He slumped back into the couch. "I thought things would be better once they stopped going to Eldora." "Can you finish telling me what happened?" he gently prompted. "I went out for a walk and they found me. They pushed me down and kicked me and they wouldn't stop. I just wanted them to stop." Tears gathered in his eyes and he wrapped his arms around himself. "It got hard to breathe for a moment and I didn't think they'd ever go away." His voice broke and he dissolved into quiet sobs. "They won't leave me alone. I can't even leave the house without someone bothering me." He shook, his chest heaving, still absently threading his fingers through Soap's fur. Hey, it's okay. You're safe now," he reminded him, keeping his voice gentle but firm. "I was so scared, Sensei." His breath hitched and he shuddered. "I don't know what I'd do if you weren't here." "Who were they? They shouldn't get away with hurting you." Ch10 frowned. He hated that trouble seemed to follow Midoriya wherever he went. "I don't know." At Ch10's raised eyebrow, he insisted, "I really don't know. I never learned their names. They were in a class above me. It's not like they ever introduced themselves to me. I don't even know what school they go to now." "Did they have anything to do with you getting locked out?" He had a feeling there was more to this than Midoriya simply losing his keys. "Yes," he sighed. "I dropped my keys when they shoved me down, and they just took it." Shivering, he turned to face Ch10 more fully, but froze, inhaling sharply. "Are you in a lot of pain?" Ch10 eyed him carefully. Midoriya's face had twisted into a grimace. He closed his eyes, but when he opened them again, the anguish expression had been replaced by a forced smile. "It's not great, but I've had worse, and really, it's not so bad if I don't move." "Midoriya." "It hurts," he admitted, voice quivering. "They kicked me in the stomach and ribs and even caught my hand when I was trying to shield my face. Though it isn't as bad, and it even hurts to breathe. Oh, problem child. You should get that checked out by a professional." Ch10 gave him a long look. "I mean it. You need to see a doctor." Unlike previous times, he didn't immediately protest he was fine or panic at the suggestion. Instead, he slowly nodded, lower lip clamped between his teeth. The kid was loath to admit when anything was wrong. So for him to offer no denial, to plainly state that it hurts, caused worry to settle in Shota's stomach. Just how much pain was he in? Do you want some ice? It might help reduce the swelling. Midoriya nodded, a few tears slipping out. Please, he whispered, further cemented the seriousness of his injury. Shota stood and retrieved a couple of ice packs from the kitchen. Handing them to Midoriya, he settled back beside him. He watched as the kid clutched the ice packs to his side. What do I do now? He asked, eyes not meeting Shota's. I can take you home. But I don't have my key, trust me, he cut in before he could spiral farther. The locked door won't be a problem. If he couldn't open a simple lock, he wouldn't be much of an underground hero. Oh, are you sure it's not too much trouble? Midoriya watched for his answer, eyebrows knitting together. I want to help you. You're not inconveniencing me in any way, Shota reminded him. Midoriya gave him a tentative smile. Hey kiddo! Hisashi entered the room carrying a pile of folded clothes. Your clothes are dry. I thought you might want to take them back before Shota takes you home. Thank you. Midoriya accepted the offered clothes and hurried off to change back into his own things. I'm dropping him at home, Shota informed Hisashi. I'll see you later. See you. He spied Midoriya walking back into the living room, wearing his own clothes once again. Hey there, kiddo. You're welcome here any time, Hisashi told him as he left with Shota. Midoriya followed Shota out to the car. As he drove him back to his apartment, Midoriya drooped in the passenger seat, exhausted. Shota watched him carefully. Kid, he started. Does this kind of thing happen often? No, not that often. I don't usually get locked out, he shrugged. But it's normal for you to get attacked on your way home? That's just the way things are. It's how they've always been, he insisted. Have you told your mom what's been going on yet? Shota asked. Midoriya bit his lip. I haven't. Not yet. Kid. He stiffened, his face briefly illuminated by a streetlight. I don't want her to worry. Shota frowned. You need to tell her everything. You're hurt badly and need medical attention. She worries about me so much, he shouted. I don't want to make her sad again. I'm always getting hurt. I don't want her to be bothered by everything else that's going on. You need to see a doctor, he insisted. If your ribs are broken, it could puncture a lung. And there's no reason for you to be in pain if we can do something about it. Fine, he sighed, crossing his arms protectively around himself. He mumbled in a voice so low that Shota had to strain to hear him. It's not like they can get mad at me for telling on them since they don't go to my school anymore. Shota sighed. I understand you don't want to be retaliated against, but is your mom the kind of person who would be upset at you for struggling with something? He sure hoped not. Midoriya needed someone in his life who'd look out for him. You need people to support you. That's a parent's job. No, he whispered. She wouldn't be mad. I just wanted her to think that things were good for once. She tries so hard to take care of me. I didn't want anyone to know how bad things really were. I'll tell her. Tonight. I'll hold you to that, Shota said, pulling up at Midoriya's apartment complex. Following Midoriya up to his apartment, Shota made short work of the door's lock. You can go home now, Sensei. I'll be fine. Midoriya slowly made his way into his house, arm wrapped protectively around his side, belying how fine he felt. I'd feel better if I knew there was someone to stay with you, Shota insisted. He couldn't leave a clearly injured kid alone for who knows how long. But I've already taken up so much of your time tonight, he protested. I can't ask you for anything more. Kid, Shota stopped him. You're not a waste of my time. I want to help you. You're hurt. I don't want you to need something and not have no one here to help you. Would it be all right if I stayed until your mom gets home? That would be okay. If you're sure you don't mind. He acquiesced. I don't mind, he promised. As Midoriya readied himself for bed, Shota took a seat on the couch, texting Hisashi to let him know he'd be home later than expected. After only a short while, Ch10 heard the front door open and a small woman with hair as green as Midoriya's walk through. Unbuttoning her coat, she hung it on a peg by the door, trading her shoes for slippers and lining the shoes up in a neat row beneath her coat. She straightened, her eyes landing on Ch10, growing wide upon noticing a stranger in her house, a shriek forming on her lips. He stood and was about to reassure her, but was immediately hit in the face with her purse. Screaming, she hit him with her purse again, and Ch10 blocked the blow. She was a small woman, and it would be easy for him to stop her, but, not wanting to scare her further, resigned himself to dodging her purse. Mom, it's okay! Midoriya appeared behind him, intervening by laying a hand on her arm. This is Izawa-sensei. I needed a ride home, so he gave me one. A look of confusion passed over her face, but she lowered her purse. I'm so sorry, Izawa-san. I had no idea it was you. I'm the one who should apologize for scaring you. He bowed deeply. It's a pleasure to meet you, Midoriya-san. Oh no, please call me Inko, she insisted. I'm so glad to finally meet you. Izuku talks about you all the time. I feel that I already know you. Midoriya let out a little squawk of embarrassment at her statement. Now, why did my boy need a ride home in the middle of the night? She asked, eyebrows drawn in concern. They filled her in on what happened, explaining how Midoriya had lost his keys after getting attacked by some bullies and went to Ch10 for help. Her face became drawn with concern as they described the events of the night. When Ch10 mentioned that Midoriya needed to see a doctor, Inko pursed her lips, exchanging a glance with her son. It dawned on him why they might be concerned. If finding someone trustworthy is an issue, I would be happy to recommend someone. I don't want you to have to worry about being refused treatment. Thank you. I can't tell you how much this means to us. Tears appeared in her eyes. It appeared she cried as easily as her son. You shouldn't go to school tomorrow, he added, crossing his arms and turning to Midoriya. You need to take the opportunity to rest. I'm sure I'll feel better tomorrow, he insisted. I don't want to fall behind. I'll bring you your homework. I can also help you catch up on anything you've missed. The other teachers would likely be less than thrilled, but anyone who didn't want to give Midoriya his assignments would have to deal with him. Are you sure you don't mind? Inko wiped her tears. It's no trouble, I insist. Ch10 attempted to reassure her. Thank you, she said again. Thank you. Beside her, Midoriya gave him a watery smile, gratitude dancing in his eyes. And that is the end of Chapter 10. I hope you guys enjoyed, and don't forget to tune in next time. Also, happy birthday to our precious baby, Izuku. This was Station 07.1 Podfix.